The wind howled across the red plains of Kelara, carrying with it the sharp scent of dust and distant rain. The human boy ran, his feet kicking up clouds of rust-colored soil, heart pounding like a drum in his chest. He had no business being this far from the settlement, but curiosity, stubbornness, and the restless energy of youth had driven him beyond the safe zones marked by the alien patrols. The stories of the creatures in the uncharted lands had always scared him, but fear had never been enough to stop him from exploring. Today, he would learn that some stories were true. The boy slowed as he crested a low ridge, his sharp eyes catching a flash of movement near a cluster of jagged rocks. He crouched, squinting against the sunlight reflecting off the cracked surfaces. There, half hidden among the stones, was a figure unlike any he had ever seen. Small, delicate, with skin that shimmered faintly like liquid silver, the figure lay still. The boy's breath caught. The girl or creature was clearly in pain, and there was a wound across her shoulder, dark and spreading. Her breathing was shallow, uneven, and urgent. Before he could make sense of what he saw, a low growl rumbled from the rocks behind her. The boy turned, heart leaping into his throat. The beast stepped into view, enormous and jagged, with 4 legs built for power, claws longer than the boy's forearm, and teeth that dripped with a venomous saliva. Its eyes, small and bright, locked onto him. Fear screamed at him to run, to hide, to escape. Every instinct told him to drop to the ground and flee. But when he looked back at the girl, lying defenseless, something stronger than fear rooted him in place. Her silver eyes, half-lidded in pain, met his. In them he saw a silent plea: survive, protect her. The boy didn't have a weapon. He only had his courage, his own body, and a sharp-edged piece of rock he had picked up while wandering. Clutching it, he took a deep breath and stepped forward. "Stay back," he shouted, voice shaking but firm. The beast paused, tilting its massive head as if confused by the defiance of something so small. Then it lunged. The boy rolled to the side, narrowly avoiding a swipe that would have crushed his ribs. Pain exploded across his left arm as a claw grazed it, tearing through cloth and flesh. He scrambled to his feet and drove the jagged rock into the beast's side, aiming for the joint where the leg met the body. The creature howled, a sound that rattled the rocks and the boy's teeth, but it did not stop. He ran in a circle, keeping between the girl and the beast, swinging the rock again and again. One claw grazed his leg, opening a deep cut, and he tasted blood. His lungs burned, his arms shook, but he refused to fall. He could not allow the creature to touch her. She had done nothing to deserve this. With a desperate effort, he spotted a narrow crevice in the rocks. The boy grabbed a loose stone and threw it into the beast's eyes, just enough to make it stagger. Then he dove at the girl, dragging her toward the crevice. Her small hand clasped his arm weakly. "I thank," she whispered, her voice barely audible over the pounding of his heart. The beast shook its head and roared, anger and frustration clear in its scream. It leapt, claws outstretched. The boy barely rolled to the side, taking the full force of a swipe on his shoulder. Pain exploded across his body, and he cried out. But he held on to the girl, pushing her into the shadowed safety of the crevice. The boy's vision blurred with pain and blood, but he knew he had bought her a moment, maybe more. The creature growled again, circling them, searching for a way to reach the girl. The boy pressed himself against the wall of the crevice, every muscle trembling, and forced himself to stay awake, alert. The rocks offered some protection, but not enough. A sudden shriek split the air. The boy's ears rang, and the beast snarled, turning its massive head toward the sound. Through the dust and sunlight, he saw movement, alien figures running toward them. The girl's eyes widened in recognition and relief. "They're here," she whispered, clutching his arm. The boy tried to smile, though every inch of his body throbbed with pain. He wanted to tell her he was fine, that everything would be okay. But he knew the truth. The beast could still reach them, and he might not last much longer. The aliens came in a flurry of metallic limbs and strange, luminous weapons. The beast hissed, backing away for a moment, then lunged again, more desperate than before. The aliens fired, beams of light striking the creature, but it did not go down immediately. The boy realized they were not killing it, just trying to drive it away. With a final roar, the beast spun, retreating into the rocks. The aliens pressed after it, and soon the red plains were quiet again, except for the labored breathing of the boy and the soft whimpers of the girl. He collapsed beside her, blood seeping through his torn shirt. She tried to pull him upright, but he shook his head. "I'm fine, just tired," he muttered, grimacing. Her silver eyes, wide with shock and gratitude, studied him closely. "Why?" she asked, voice trembling. "Why did you help me?" The boy noticed the way they studied him, the wounded human, as if measuring him for some unseen scale. "You will survive," the alien said, voice deep and commanding. He gestured for the others to lift the boy. Despite his protests, they carried him gently, moving him with care. The girl clung to him, whispering reassurances. As they traveled to their settlement, the boy felt the weight of exhaustion pressing down on him. Every step sent sharp jolts of pain through his body, and his vision blurred. He was aware dimly of the alien girl and her quiet murmurs, of the endless red plains outside, and of the strange mixture of fear and respect in the alien leader's eyes. Hours passed, though they felt like days. The boy drifted in and out of consciousness, haunted by the growl of the beast and the memory of its massive claws. Each time he woke, he saw the girl safe, alive, and terrified, and it renewed his resolve. Finally, they arrived at a settlement unlike any human city. Towering structures of metal and crystal reflected the red sun, and alien beings of many shapes and sizes moved with purpose. The boy was carried inside a medical facility, where the air was cool and filled with a faint hum of energy. He was laid on a soft surface, and beings unlike any he had seen before began their work. Strange instruments hovered, scanning his wounds, repairing torn flesh and crushed bone. The pain was intense, almost unbearable, but he endured. Each flare of agony reminded him that he had done the right thing, that he had protected someone who could not protect herself. The alien girl knelt beside him, her silver eyes softening as she watched. "I should have died," she whispered. "But you saved me. I told you, it wasn't right to leave you." As darkness claimed him, the boy felt the faintest sense of hope. He had survived the beast, protected the girl, and endured pain that should have broken him. Tomorrow, he knew, would bring new challenges, questions from the alien leader, mysteries about the girl's origin, and perhaps even more danger from the wilds of Kelara. But for now, he allowed himself to rest. And somewhere deep in the settlement, the alien chief began to speak to his advisors in low tones. Words the boy could not understand, but whose meaning was clear in their urgency. A human had acted with courage the like of which no alien had seen, and that would not be forgotten. The boy's first night among the aliens was quiet, yet charged with the promise of the extraordinary. He had crossed the threshold from ordinary human into something remarkable, though he did not yet understand how. And as the red sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the settlement, the human boy slept, battered, bleeding, but alive, and for the first time truly noticed. The boy woke to a room filled with soft, glowing light. Strange humming sounds surrounded him, and the air smelled faintly metallic, with hints of herbs he didn't recognize. His body ached in ways he had never known, every muscle stiff, every limb heavy. He tried to sit up and winced sharply as a surge of pain ran through his shoulder where the beast had bitten him. The memory of its claws made him shiver. A gentle touch stopped him. The silver-skinned girl knelt beside the bed, her eyes full of concern. She had removed her own wounds, but the marks on her shoulder and arm were still fresh. "You shouldn't move," she said softly, her voice melodic and soothing. "The healing pods will take care of you, but it's better if you rest." He wanted to stand to prove that he was not weak, but the girl shook her head. "No, you fought a beast with claws like knives. Even I cannot believe you survived it," she said, a hint of wonder in her voice. "Humans are fragile, yet you endured. That is unusual." Before she could reply, the door opened. A tall alien entered, the same being who had watched him the day before. His limbs were long, his skin dark and glimmered faintly under the glowing lights. His eyes, sharp and calculating, settled on the boy, and an unnatural silence filled the room. "You survived," the alien said, his voice deep and calm. "The venom should have killed you. Most of your kind would not have lasted the night. Even the toxins of Kelara's beasts do not affect you as they do other species." He paused, his gaze sharpening. "Tell me, why did you risk your life for her? Most humans would flee, seeking survival above all else, yet you acted differently. You did not value your life over another. Why?" It was neither approval nor disapproval, but something the boy could sense deep in his chest, acknowledgement. The alien turned to the girl, who bowed slightly. "She speaks highly of your courage," the alien said. "She believes you saved her life. Your species may have value we did not consider. He protected me when he should have run. Humans are stronger than we expected. At least this one is." The alien scientists used tools that emitted light and sound, probing his body in ways that made him feel strange, yet he endured. The venom's effects were monitored closely, and the boy noticed something unsettling. The venom was not acting as it had in others. His wounds were slow to close, but his strength was returning faster than anyone predicted. His reflexes, even in pain, were sharper. He felt the adrenaline inside him like a constant flame. The girl watched him silently, her expression a mixture of awe and worry. "The venom, it is changing you," she whispered. "I have seen its effects before. It is meant to break species, not strengthen them. You are different. You are not normal." He walked through the glowing doorway silently, his presence commanding attention. The boy noticed the way the other aliens stepped back, leaving space for the chief. His eyes, dark and intelligent, settled on the boy. "You have survived," the chief said, voice calm but filled with authority. "And you have done what my own warriors might have hesitated to do. That is remarkable. Humans are not expected to endure this planet's dangers, yet here you are." The chief raised a hand and silence fell. "Curious, humans are fragile, easily broken, yet this one he is different. I wish to learn why." Humans were insignificant in the galaxy, untested, often dismissed. Yet this human had endured pain, risked life for another, and survived a venom that would have killed anyone else. The girl spoke, her voice quiet but firm. "He is unusual, and not just because he survived. He acted out of will, not instinct. He did not run when he could have. He fought because it was right." Yet he noticed subtle changes. His senses felt sharper. He could hear whispers from farther away, see in dim light, and his reflexes were quicker. Even his pain tolerance seemed greater than before. The girl explained what she knew. "The venom was meant to break the body and mind. It is designed to disable, sometimes kill. But your human biology, it fights it in ways even we do not fully understand. You may emerge stronger, but it is not without risk. You are fortunate so far. I wish to speak with you directly. Your actions have drawn attention beyond what you realize. The girl you saved, she is my daughter, and you have risked your life for her. These are traits we admire, but they also make you dangerous. The galaxy has underestimated humans for centuries. Most of your kind are ignored, dismissed, assumed weak. Yet you prove otherwise. You may be small, fragile, but you are resilient beyond measure. You choose to act even at great risk. That is power." Yet now he realized that his actions had consequences he did not fully understand. The girl entered the chamber quietly, standing beside the boy. She looked at her father, then at the human. "He saved me, and he continues to endure even now. That is why I brought him here. But one such human may change perceptions. I will watch him closely. He may survive, and in doing so, alter the course of history for your species." Yet now he realized that the universe was noticing him in ways he could not yet understand. As he returned to his quarters, guided by the girl, he thought of the beast, the venom, and the strange power within him. He had survived what should have killed him. He had acted with courage and clarity, and now the galaxy seemed to have taken note. For the first time, the boy understood that survival was not just about escaping danger. It was about enduring, acting with purpose, and standing firm when the world expected him to fall. The future was uncertain, but he was no longer just a human boy wandering alone. He was a human boy who had survived the impossible, and who might yet prove that humans were more than anyone had believed. And somewhere in the observation chambers of the alien settlement, the chief recorded every detail, every pulse of life, every reaction. The human boy had survived the venom, endured pain beyond reason, and chosen action over retreat. The galaxy might have dismissed humans as fragile, weak, and unimportant. But this one boy, this one act, had begun to change their minds. The boy's recovery had become the focus of everyone in the settlement. Alien scientists and healers moved quietly around him, monitoring every heartbeat, every breath, every twitch of muscle. Yet despite the care, the boy noticed a strange shift in himself. Simple movements felt easier, and his strength was returning faster than it should have. A small rock he lifted during exercise felt lighter, his reflexes sharper. He could hear the faint hum of energy in the walls, feel the vibrations of footsteps in the corridor, even detect distant murmurs beyond the normal range of hearing. The girl watched him closely, her silver eyes wide. You are changing," she said one morning as he struggled to stand, testing his legs. "The venom, it should have broken you, but it is. You are adapting. It is not supposed to happen like this. The venom should have killed you or left you weak and fragile, but your human body, it resists, it absorbs, it learns. That is dangerous. You are small, fragile, and yet you endure. You fight through pain, make choices without fear. That they do not understand." The council members, beings of all shapes and sizes, regarded him with a mixture of curiosity, suspicion, and admiration. The chief stood at the center, his presence commanding silence. "This human," he said, his voice deep and calm, has survived what should have ended him, not only survived, but adapted. His body resists venom meant to destroy. His mind acts with clarity under pain. This is exceptional. You would ignore the potential in something so remarkable. Yet here the galaxy's most powerful beings debated what he could become. The chief turned toward him, eyes intense. You hear them? They fear what they cannot understand. But you have already endured their venom, faced death, and acted with courage when it was expected that you would flee. That is strength. That is worth attention. I didn't do it to be strong, he said quietly. I just did what was right. But also potentially invaluable. Alien scientists measured his reflexes, scanned his body with light and energy, tested his endurance and perception. The girl stayed by his side, offering quiet encouragement. You are extraordinary, she whispered one day as the boy lifted a weighted object far heavier than he could have before. Even I do not know how you can do it. Your human body, it defies logic. Even when pain comes, even when death seems close, you act. Your mind acts with clarity when tested. And yet, there is something more. You are not just surviving. You are learning, adapting. That is dangerous. Not to you, but to those who would dismiss you, and to those who would oppose your species. Why does it matter what others think of me? And they will remember. His vision became sharper. He could see subtle movements in the settlement that others missed. His hearing picked up faint sounds from far away, footsteps, whispers, machinery humming. Even his sense of balance improved. He moved more fluidly, faster, and with more control than before. The venom had altered him, but not destroyed him. The girl helped him adjust to the changes, teaching him ways to control his new abilities. You must be careful, she said one day as he caught a falling object before it hit the ground. If others see this, they will fear you, and fear leads to conflict. I just want to be able to protect people. The venom has altered you, but not as expected. Your species is unique, small, seemingly fragile, but capable of resilience no other species shows. Your choices under pain, under threat, show a level of moral clarity that cannot be taught. That is what makes you valuable. But for understanding, for survival, you show us qualities we have ignored: courage, endurance, morality, loyalty. These are not weaknesses, these are strengths, and the galaxy may need them. And yet the galaxy now watched him, studied him, and considered his potential impact. Weeks passed. The boy trained under alien guidance, learning to control his enhanced reflexes, to understand his improved senses, and to endure pain without hesitation. He and the girl grew closer, learning to trust each other implicitly. One morning, the settlement's alarms rang out. An unexpected attack from wild beasts breached the outer perimeter. The boy, though still healing, instinctively moved to protect those around him. Using his enhanced speed, reflexes, and ingenuity, he directed the aliens, helped them trap the beasts, and saved civilians who had no other means of escape. The chief watched silently, his eyes narrowing. The human boy acted not out of obligation, but out of will. He risked his own life to save others, and he did so with clarity, intelligence, and courage. After the attack, the chief approached him. You do not yet understand the value of your species, he said. A human may be underestimated, dismissed, or ignored, yet you act, you endure, you choose. That is power, and it is rare. One human has survived the impossible, and through that survival you have begun to change perceptions. The galaxy may not yet see the full measure of humans, but it will, and you will be remembered. He had survived, endured, and acted when others would have fled. And in doing so, he had begun to carve a place for humanity in the galaxy. He looked out over the red plains of Kelera, the wind carrying the scent of dust and distant storms. He was no longer just a boy from a small settlement. He was a human who had survived the impossible, a human whose choices had power beyond his understanding. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, he knew that the next challenge would come, and he would meet it, not with fear, but with courage, endurance, and the relentless human will to act. The settlement had grown tense in the days following the boy's display of endurance and strength. News of the human's survival and abilities had spread quietly, yet efficiently. Some of the aliens whispered in fear and awe, calling him a force unknown and an anomaly that cannot be predicted. Others were curious, studying him with instruments, observing his every movement, every decision, every reaction to pain. The boy, despite the attention, remained focused on one thing: keeping those around him safe. He had grown stronger, faster, and sharper since the venom had entered his system, but he had not forgotten the instinct that had saved the silver-skinned girl weeks ago. Courage, loyalty, and action, these were his guiding principles. One morning, alarms echoed through the settlement. The boy's enhanced senses picked up the first signs before the machines could alert anyone. Tremors in the ground, low growls carried by the wind, and a pungent odor of wild beasts. The outer perimeter had been breached. The chief appeared quickly, his face tight with concern. "They are coming from the northern cliffs, too many to face with standard patrols alone." He turned his eyes to the boy. "You will help your species. Your abilities, they may tip the balance." Dozens of them charged down the rocky slopes, creatures built to kill in a single strike. They were larger than any he had seen before, their bodies covered in thick mottled hides, jaws dripping with venom similar to what had attacked him. Yet the boy did not hesitate. He moved instinctively, faster than most could comprehend. He dodged a snapping jaw, grabbed a loose stone, and hurled it at the nearest creature. His aim was precise, not to kill but to distract, to slow them down, to protect others. Alien soldiers watched in disbelief as he directed them, using gestures and sharp shouts, coordinating their response without hesitation. A creature lunged at the girl, its claws swinging through the air. The boy reacted instantly, rolling between them and deflecting the claw with his forearm. Pain flared, but he gritted his teeth, forcing the adrenaline and venom-enhanced strength to flow through him. The girl scrambled to safety, watching in awe as the human acted with a combination of speed, intelligence, and determination that none of her species could match. The fight escalated. Beasts attacked from all directions, yet the boy moved like a force of nature. He used the terrain to his advantage, dodging attacks, leading the beasts into traps set by alien engineers, and creating openings for the soldiers to act. Every movement was calculated, yet instinctive. Every decision prioritized survival and protection. The chief observed from a high ridge, his eyes dark with focus. "He is extraordinary," he muttered to an advisor. "His kind may have potential we never imagined. Look at the control, the clarity, the instinct. He is human, and yet he acts with precision beyond most of my warriors." Pain was no longer a barrier. It was a measure of his endurance, a proof of will. Each time a beast charged, each time a soldier hesitated, he acted, fast, smart, and decisive. At one point, a massive creature broke through the defenses, heading straight for the settlement's central energy hub. The girl shouted a warning, but the boy was already moving. He leapt onto a rocky outcrop, timing his jump perfectly and using the momentum to land directly in the creature's path. It swiped at him with massive claws, but he ducked, rolling to the side and driving a sharpened energy rod into the creature's flank. The beast roared, staggering, giving soldiers the chance to immobilize it. The tide began to turn. The beasts, though fierce and numerous, were not coordinated. Under the boy's guidance, the aliens worked together, herding them back toward the cliffs, using traps and barriers he suggested, and striking when openings appeared. His mind moved faster than the creatures, faster than fear itself, and faster than anyone expected. Finally, the last of the beasts were driven back into the wilds. The settlement had survived, though the outer perimeter was damaged and some buildings bore claw marks. Soldiers and civilians alike looked at the boy with a mix of awe, respect, and fear. He had not just survived. He had led them, protected them, and acted with courage and intelligence that marked him as different from any human they had ever seen. The chief descended from the ridge, his expression unreadable. He approached the boy slowly, taking in the bruised, bloodied, but standing figure. "You have done what no other being here could have done," he said, voice calm but filled with weight. "You have acted with purpose, clarity, and courage. You are remarkable." I just wanted to keep them safe. I didn't do it to be remarkable." He did what we could not, what we did not even know could be done. His strength is not just in his body, it is in his will. He had acted, he had survived, and now the galaxy seemed to notice. He had not sought power, nor attention, nor glory. He had only acted to protect those in need. Yet here he stood, a symbol of human resilience, a living proof of qualities that many believed were insignificant. Over the following days, the settlement repaired, and alien leaders debated quietly about the boy. Some whispered that humans were a species underestimated at their peril. Others feared the unpredictability, the resilience, the morality that could drive humans to act where others would hesitate. The chief, however, remained calm, observing and noting every detail. One evening, he called the boy to the observation chamber again. "You have faced danger directly," the chief said, voice steady. "And survived. More than survived. You led, you guided, you acted with clarity. That is rare, not just among humans, but among all species. You do not see your strength, but others will, and it may change the galaxy's perception of your kind. I just want to survive and help. You saved lives because it was right. That is human courage. That is worth observing. That is worth remembering. Yet here in a settlement far from Earth, he had begun to prove something profound. Humans, small and fragile as they may seem, could endure, act, and survive in ways no one expected. The girl smiled faintly. "And you have done it again," she said softly, "even when it seemed impossible." The wilds were still dangerous, the beasts still waiting, yet he felt ready. He had endured the venom, survived the impossible, led others in the face of overwhelming odds. And he knew deep in his heart that he would continue to act with courage, endurance, and the human will to protect those in need. Somewhere in the observation chambers, the chief recorded every detail. The human boy had survived the impossible, fought when others would have fled, and protected those who could not protect themselves. The galaxy had taken notice, and a quiet truth had begun to settle among the alien leaders. Humans were not weak. Humans were resilient, unpredictable, and morally driven. Humans were capable of more than anyone had imagined. And the boy, exhausted but unbroken, realized something for the first time. Survival was not enough. Action mattered. Courage mattered. And even a single human acting with clarity and will could change the course of events in a way that no alien species could predict or control. The settlement was calm, yet the air carried a quiet tension. Word of the human boy's deeds had spread quickly among the aliens. His courage, endurance, and ability to act decisively in moments of extreme danger were no longer whispered rumors. They were observed facts. Some regarded him with admiration, others with caution, and a few with fear. The chief, however, remained calm, watching the boy closely, studying him in ways the boy could feel but not fully understand. The boy had grown stronger and faster, but more than that, he had grown in awareness. The venom in his body had altered him subtly, sharpening his senses, quickening his reflexes, and heightening his endurance. Pain no longer controlled him. It was a signal he could use. Exhaustion became temporary. Each test, each encounter, each day of observation only revealed more of what humans were capable of if they chose to endure. The silver-skinned girl approached him in the central courtyard. Her eyes were warm with concern and admiration. "You are different now," she said softly. "Even your movements, your decisions, they are faster, smarter. You are no longer just surviving. You are controlling what happens around you. You act because it is right, not because you seek power or recognition. That makes you dangerous, but in a way that the galaxy has not seen before." His presence alone drew attention, and the boy straightened, preparing for judgment or instruction. The chief's dark eyes studied him carefully, then softened slightly. "You have done more than survive," the chief said, voice calm but commanding. "You have led, protected, and acted with clarity when others could not. Your species has qualities we have underestimated. Courage, endurance, morality, traits that we thought weak, you demonstrate in abundance, and that is why we must acknowledge you and your people." And yet here he was, praised by the most powerful alien in the settlement. "You will be honored," the chief continued. "Not as a curiosity, not as a tool, but as an example of what your species can achieve. Your actions have invoked an ancient law, one that binds those who survive under extreme circumstance to recognition and protection. Humans may have been overlooked, dismissed, and underestimated, but after today, your species cannot be ignored. Not because you wanted to, but because you had the courage to act. Humans are a species we have ignored at our peril," he said. "One human has survived the impossible, acted without hesitation, and shown qualities we do not fully understand. That human has earned recognition, and through him, humanity earns acknowledgement and protection from this settlement." The idea that his species, once dismissed and underestimated, could now hold a place in the galaxy because of one act of courage, it was almost too much to comprehend. Over the following days, the settlement celebrated quietly. Humans were still rare in the galaxy, and most had not even left Earth. Yet the boy's survival and deeds had sparked a new perception. Aliens who had once doubted humans now watched them with curiosity, caution, and even respect. Every action the boy took reinforced what the chief had said. Humans were capable of endurance, morality, and courage that exceeded expectation. The boy spent much of his time with the girl, training, learning, and adjusting to his enhanced abilities. He could sense subtle movements, hear whispers across the courtyard, and react instantly to threats. He practiced using his new awareness to guide soldiers in simulations, showing them how quick thinking, moral clarity, and courage could save lives even when strength alone failed. One afternoon, while walking along the outer walls of the settlement, he noticed a patrol struggling to subdue a wild creature that had wandered too close. Without hesitation, he ran to intervene. Using precise movements, quick reflexes, and the terrain to his advantage, he guided the creature away without harm. Soldiers and civilians alike watched, astonished at his calm control and decisive action. The girl followed closely, smiling faintly. "You're becoming something beyond normal humans," she said. "I'm just surviving," he replied, though he could not hide the pride in his voice. "And protecting, that's all I want to do." He had studied the boy for weeks, analyzing the venom's effects, the boy's reactions, and the decisions he made in moments of extreme stress. He realized something profound. Humans were not physically dominant, but their endurance, moral choice, and ability to act under pressure made them unpredictable, resilient, and uniquely powerful. One human could influence outcomes in ways that entire armies could not. He summoned the boy and the girl to a formal council. The room was vast, filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Every eye turned toward the boy as he entered. Silence fell. "You have earned the recognition of this council," the chief said, voice echoing through the chamber. "Your courage, endurance, and moral clarity have shown that humans are not weak. They are capable of surviving the impossible, acting decisively, and protecting life when it matters most. This human, and through him, his species, will now be recognized, respected, and protected." Some bowed in acknowledgement, some whispered to one another, but all were silent before the chief's command. The boy felt his chest tighten. Recognition was not what he had sought, yet it filled him with a quiet pride. The girl stepped forward. "He did not act for reward," she said. "He acted because it was right. That is the true measure of strength." Courage is not the absence of fear. Endurance is not merely survival. Moral clarity and the choice to act, these define humans. And now the galaxy will see what one human can do. Action, courage, and morality could shape perception, influence events, and alter the course of history. Days later, he walked with the girl along the cliffs overlooking the red plains of Kelara. The sun dipped low, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. The boy's wounds had mostly healed, and his body felt stronger than ever. Yet it was not just strength that defined him now, it was knowledge, awareness, and the quiet certainty that he could endure what others could not. The girl looked at him, her eyes reflecting the colors of the sunset. "You've changed everything," she said softly. "Not because you sought glory, but because you acted when it was needed. The chief sees it, others see it. Humanity will be remembered because of you." One human has survived the impossible, acted with clarity and courage, and changed perceptions. That is power, and it is rare. Humanity may be small, seemingly fragile, and underestimated, but they endure, they act, they choose, and that is what makes them unforgettable. But more importantly, he had learned what it meant to act with courage, endure with will, and protect life when it mattered most. Strength alone did not define a hero. Choice, morality, and endurance did. And humans, as a species, possessed all three in abundance. As the sun set, casting long shadows across the red plains, the boy, the girl, and the chief stood silently. The settlement behind them was safe, the creatures driven away, and the aliens' perception of humans forever changed. The boy understood now that his journey was only beginning. He was no longer just a boy. He was a human. And humanity, through his actions, had shown the galaxy that it was not to be underestimated. The red plains stretched endlessly before them, a world of danger, beauty, and challenge. And the boy, human, courageous, and unbroken, knew one truth clearly. No matter how small, fragile, or underestimated a species might be, the choice to act with courage and will could shape the future of the galaxy. And humanity would endure.